everyone! I am feeling in a particular mood at the moment. I recently watched a documentary about Deborah James. She's also known as Bowel Babe. If you don't know who that is, perhaps you're not from the UK, Deborah James was an educator, podcast host and charity campaigner who was diagnosed in 2016 with incurable bowel cancer. She ended up raising a heck of a lot of awareness about this disease, as well as millions of pounds in her final years before she died last year at the age of just 40. Understandably, it wasn't exactly an easy watch. It was mostly made up of Deborah's own social media footage and audio from the podcast that she co-hosted with Rachel Bland, who unfortunately died of breast cancer in 2018, and Lauren Mahon, who, as far as I'm aware, is still clear of breast cancer. I also always worry I've said Lauren's surname wrong, so if I have, apologies. Their podcast, You, Me and the Big C, was a really taboo-breaking podcast, and it provided a huge amount of not only actual information about what it's like to go through cancer and live with cancer, but also gave a lot of comfort to people going through the disease themselves or who had family members who were dealing with it. So the documentary felt incredibly intimate, as it featured a lot of stuff that was filmed by Deborah herself, or where she was just, chatting away with her friends on the podcast. And the sort of progression that you saw during the length of the documentary was quite hard to watch, because you saw her becoming more and more ill, less able to do certain things, and yeah. I'm somebody who lost both of my grandmothers to cancer, and it hit a nerve for sure. And if I'm honest, the day after I watched this documentary, it was still all I could think about. Particularly because when Deborah died, she was my age. She was the same age as I am now, and that obviously had a big effect on me because, while you're young, we like to think that we're immortal. Okay, it's really sad when other people die, but that will never happen to me. As you get past the age of 40, you start to become a little bit more aware of your own mortality. And I think that's partly because you start to encounter things like, I have arthritis in my hip now, and ow. And unfortunately, the older that you get, the more you experience death in your life. People that you know are going to become sick, and some of them die. And by the time you are sort of around 40, you probably have experienced loss. I lost a friend earlier this year. So what I'm trying to say is that this documentary had a quite profound effect on me, and I was still thinking about it the next day, and it made me feel really aware of the fact that at the same age she was, I am relatively healthy and able to live my life. And that made me feel massively grateful. And then, of course, I started thinking about, obviously, the big things in my life that I'm grateful for. The fact that I am relatively healthy. The fact that I have a roof over my head, and that I have a family and friends who love me and who I love. All of that is what obviously makes life worth living. But then I started thinking about the little things that I'm grateful for as well. The things that we maybe don't think about every day. Is it just me, or are you sensing that a list is about to happen? This might sound a little bit crazy, but I'm really grateful for the fact that I have a really good appetite. What? I just really love food, okay? I know people who are quite picky eaters and they don't want to try new stuff. And whilst there are things that I have no intention of ever trying, or that I have tried once and gone, ooh, for me, food is a source of genuine joy. I love going out to new places. I find it exciting to try new foods. Like I said, there are some I won't be trying, some that you see online and go,
People eat that?
But on the whole, I find trying new things exciting, like I said, and I like cooking too. I just find that food can be a really nice communal thing that you do with your family or your friends. It can be a comforting thing if you're not feeling 100%. Sometimes you're like, I want my comfort food, and whatever that is to you, go eat that comfort food if you need to. If you're wondering what mine is, it's Heinz spaghetti hoops and buttery mashed potato. If I feel like I need comfort food, that's my go-to. Oh, and Greek chicken soup, avgolamono. That is just in my blood because, you know, I'm a part Greek girl. I've seen friends and family members who've been towards the end of their lives and who can't eat anymore, and I know people who have had their appetites massively curtailed through illness, and so I find the fact that I am basically greedy something to be hugely grateful for, because I know it might not always be the case. So yeah, the first little thing that I'm grateful for may seem weird, but it is having a good appetite. And of course, when I'm not eating, I'm usually singing. Sometimes we think about what would have happened if we had achieved all of our wildest dreams, and if I had achieved all of my wildest dreams, I can say that factoring very large in my life would be probably a career in music. I would be a recording artist putting out albums, or I would have been on the West End stage appearing in musicals, because singing is a massive part of who I am and it's a thing I love, and I'm very grateful that I get to do it and that I'm sort of okay at it. I imagine the people I live with are also grateful that I'm sort of okay at it, because I do it a lot. Singing really does mean so much to me. It's how I met Leslie. It's given me some amazing experiences, like singing in another country and visiting different parts of this country to sing and perform. And it's just something I can't imagine my life without. So I am really grateful for the fact that I get to do it in some form. I'm never going to be the greatest singer in the world, but I am grateful that I can sort of hold a tune and that I sound okay, because, like I said, everyone around me is probably grateful for it too, because even if I had absolute tone deafness, I would probably sing all the time, in the shower, in the car, in my room. I just like to sing. I'm also incredibly lucky in that I love where I live. I'm a big believer in the fact that where you're born is basically an accident of birth. You have no control over where you're born. I happen to have been born in a town called Hereford in the UK. I only lived there for a few months because I was a military brat and we moved around a lot. But I do feel very grateful for where I live now. I have lived in Cornwall on and off since the age of 11. I lived here consistently from 11 to 14 and a half, I think. And then we moved to Gloucestershire for a couple of years, and then I came back basically the eve of my 16th birthday, if I remember correctly, and we've lived here ever since. Cornwall is a fabulous place to live. It's a beautiful part of the world. It's really peaceful, it's laid back, and it has loads of cool places to explore. I have adopted this county as my home county, and I can't imagine wanting to live anywhere else. And now, from the love of nature all around me, let's talk about my love of technology. This is probably going to be the most shallow thing on this list, but you know, I'm grateful to be living in an era of smart technology. I freely admit that I spend probably an unholy amount of time glued to my phone, whether I am scrolling through social media or playing games on it. I love that little device so much. I mean, think about it. Having a machine that fits in your pocket that you can use to do shopping without leaving the house, or to keep in touch with somebody who might live thousands of miles away, or to find information about basically anything on the planet, that would have blown like 10-year-old me's mind. A lot of people talk about the harm that having a phone can do and that being too obsessed with your phone can do. And there is a huge conversation to be had about that, because I can absolutely see some of the ways that being glued to a phone all the time can negatively impact your life. But I would not be without my phone for all the money in the world. What? Oh, come on, this is just the summary bit at the end. You don't need me for this bit. There are loads of little things in my life that I'm grateful for. I'm grateful every time my dog comes up to me and pops his head on my lap and wants a little bit of affection, because he is such an important part of my life. And yes, I include him in family, so he's one of the big things really, not one of the little things that I'm grateful for. But you know, there are so many little reasons to be glad that we're here and we're experiencing all the things that life has to offer. And it's absolutely fair to say that life can be incredibly hard at times, and when we are going through those really difficult periods, that's when all the little, sometimes seemingly silly things that give us joy and make us feel grateful are all the more important. The big things are always going to be vital in life, but we should never overlook the little ones. I'm sorry if this feels like a bit of a pious video, but it's just, you know, how I've been feeling ever since I watched that documentary. What little things are you grateful for? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. You can click on my floaty head if you would like to subscribe, and last week's video is over there. I am gonna chill out for a little bit because I am grateful to have the luxury of being able to do that today, and I'll talk to you all next week. Take care everyone. Bye.